Hello, and welcome to Artificial Fluency. I'm your host, John, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Emma. Today, we're exploring how to effectively learn English using one of the world's largest repositories of free content, YouTube.
That's right, John. YouTube has become an incredible resource for language learners worldwide. With over 2 billion logged-in monthly users and content in more than 100 languages, it's a goldmine for English practice. But with so much content available, learners need strategies to make the most of it.
Exactly. I hear from listeners all the time who watch English YouTube videos, but aren't sure if they're making the most of this resource. So today we'll guide you through finding the right content, using it effectively, and turning casual watching into structured learning.
And we should mention that we're practicing what we preach. This podcast is also available on YouTube for those who like to watch as they listen.
Good point. Let's start by discussing the unique benefits of YouTube for language learning. What makes it different from other resources like textbooks or language apps?
I think one of the biggest advantages is the sheer variety of authentic content. Unlike materials specifically created for language learners, which can sometimes feel artificial, YouTube offers real English as it's actually used by native speakers in countless contexts.
And that authentic content comes in so many forms: vlogs, tutorials, interviews, cooking shows, travel videos, educational content. Whatever your interests are, you can find something engaging in English.
That's crucial for motivation. When you're learning through topics you're genuinely interested in, you're more likely to stick with it and pay attention. Another huge benefit is the visual component. Seeing facial expressions, gestures, and environments provides context that helps with comprehension.
YouTube also offers incredible accessibility. It's free, available 24/7, and you can pause, rewind, or slow down videos as needed. Many videos have captions too, which can be extremely helpful for learners.
Speaking of captions, YouTube's automatic captioning has improved dramatically in recent years. While not perfect, it provides a reasonably accurate transcript for most clearly spoken English content, which is invaluable for language learners.
Let's talk about how to find the right content for your level, because jumping into just any English video can be overwhelming if you're not at an advanced level yet.
Absolutely. I recommend starting with channels specifically created for English learners if you're at a beginner or intermediate level. These creators speak more clearly, often explain vocabulary, and design their content with language learners in mind.
Could you suggest some popular channels in this category?
Some well-established channels include English, with Lucy, Rachel's English, and English Class 101. For American English pronunciation, Rachel's English is excellent. For British English and more general language tips, English with Lucy offers clear, engaging content, and English Class 101 provides structured lessons for various levels.
What about learners who are ready to venture beyond dedicated English learning channels?
Once you're comfortable with content made for learners, you can gradually transition to authentic content based on your interests. For instance, if you're interested in cooking, you might start with simple recipe videos, which typically have clear, straightforward language accompanied by visual demonstrations.
That's a great suggestion. The visual element really helps with comprehension. News channels like BBC News or CNN often speak clearly and cover topics you might be familiar with from your own language, which provides helpful context.
Absolutely. Another approach is to look for content made for children or young adults in areas you're interested in. These typically use simpler language but aren't as obviously designed for language learners, so they feel more authentic.
Let's talk about how to actually use YouTube videos effectively for language learning, because just passively watching isn't going to maximize your progress.
Right. The key is active engagement rather than passive consumption. One effective technique is the pause and predict method. While watching, periodically pause the video and try to predict what the speaker will say next. This forces you to engage with the content and process the language actively.
I like that approach. Another technique is shadowing, listening to a short segment, pausing, and then repeating what you heard, trying to match the pronunciation and intonation. This is particularly useful for improving speaking skills.
Shadowing is extremely effective. Note-taking is another powerful strategy. Jot down new vocabulary or phrases that catch your attention, noting the context in which they were used. Later, you can review these notes and incorporate the new language into your own speaking or writing.
What about using captions? Some learners wonder if they should watch with or without them.
That's a great question. I recommend a progressive approach. If a video is challenging, start by watching with captions in English, not your native language. This helps you connect the sounds you're hearing with written words. For subsequent viewings, try watching without captions to train your listening comprehension.
That makes sense. And for more advanced learners, creating your own transcript by writing down what you hear before checking against the captions can be a powerful exercise. Let's discuss how to integrate YouTube into a broader language learning routine. Because while it's a fantastic resource, it shouldn't be the only tool in your language learning toolbox.
Exactly. YouTube is primarily input, you're listening and perhaps reading captions. But language learning also requires output, speaking and writing, along with deliberate vocabulary and grammar study.
So how might someone create a balanced routine that includes YouTube?
One approach is to use YouTube videos as the foundation for a study session. For example, watch a short video on a topic that interests you, note down new vocabulary, and then use those new words in your own sentences. You could even record yourself summarizing the video to practice speaking.
I like that. Another strategy is to join the conversation by actually commenting on videos in English. Many YouTube creators respond to comments, especially language teachers, which can give you authentic writing practice.
That's a great point. You can also use videos as conversation starters with language exchange partners or tutors. Watch a video on a topic you're interested in, then discuss it with your partner, which provides meaningful speaking practice.
For more structured learning, many English teachers on YouTube create video series that build on each other almost like an online course. Following these series gives you more systematic progress than jumping randomly between videos.
And don't forget about YouTube's playlist feature. You can create your own playlists organized by level, topic, or skill you want to improve, making it easier to maintain a structured approach.
Let's talk about some specific types of YouTube content that are particularly valuable for language learners.
Movie trailers and short clips from TV shows can be excellent resources. They're typically 2 to 3 minutes long, highly engaging, and showcase conversational English in context. Many learners find these more interesting than traditional learning materials.
TED Talks are another fantastic resource. They usually feature clear, well-structured presentations on interesting topics and come with accurate manual captions. The speakers are typically excellent communicators using professional-level English.
Absolutely. Vloggers who document their daily lives can be great for learning casual, everyday English. They often speak about routine activities using common vocabulary and expressions you'd hear in real-life conversations.
And let's not forget about YouTube's enormous library of music videos with lyrics. Music can be an enjoyable way to pick up new phrases and practice pronunciation. Plus, the catchy nature of songs helps with memorization.
Another category I'd recommend is reaction videos, where YouTubers react to content like music, movies, or cultural differences. These often contain authentic, spontaneous language, along with plenty of emotional expressions and colloquial terms.
Let's address some challenges learners might face when using YouTube for English practice and how to overcome them.
One common challenge is understanding different accents. English is spoken in many countries with diverse accents, which can be confusing for learners used to only one variety.
What I usually suggest is to start with content in an accent you're most familiar with or need to understand for your specific goals. Then gradually expose yourself to different varieties. Many learners begin with standard American or British accents before branching out.
That's good advice. Another challenge is slang and colloquial expressions, which are common in authentic YouTube content, but might not be covered in traditional learning materials.
For dealing with slang, I recommend using the Urban Dictionary website, which explains modern slang terms, or specifically looking for videos about slang and colloquial expressions, of which there are many on YouTube itself.
Content overwhelm is another issue. With millions of English videos available, it can be paralyzing to decide what to watch, leading to inefficient learning.
To combat this, I suggest following a small number of channels consistently rather than jumping around too much. Subscribe to perhaps 5 to 10 channels that match your interests and level, and focus on their content before expanding further.
That's helpful. Technical issues like poor audio quality or speakers talking too quickly can also be frustrating for learners.
Fortunately, YouTube has features to help with this. You can adjust playback speed down to 0.75x or even 0.5x to give yourself more processing time. As your comprehension improves, gradually increase the speed back to normal.
And for videos with poor audio quality, looking for content from established creators who use good microphones and film in quiet environments can make a big difference.
Let's talk about measuring progress, because that can be challenging when learning through YouTube rather than a structured course with assessments.
One approach is to periodically return to videos you found challenging in the past. If you understand more of them than you did before, that's clear evidence of progress. Recording yourself speaking about video topics over time can also help you notice improvements in your fluency and vocabulary.
I'd also suggest keeping a learning journal. Note down new words and phrases from videos and review them regularly. Seeing your growing vocabulary list provides tangible evidence of your progress.
Setting specific, measurable goals can help too. For instance, commit to learning 5 new words from each video you watch, or challenge yourself to summarize a video without looking at notes after watching it.
As we start to wrap up, let's summarize some key tips for effectively learning English through YouTube.
First, be selective about content. Choose videos that match both your proficiency level and your interests. As you improve, gradually challenge yourself with more complex or faster-paced content.
Second, engage actively rather than passively. Use techniques like shadowing, note-taking, pause, and predict, and creating your own summaries to interact with the content rather than just watching it.
Third, use YouTube's features to your advantage. Adjust playback speed, turn on captions, create playlists, and use the subscribe feature to organize your learning resources.
Fourth, integrate YouTube with other language learning activities. Use video content as a springboard for speaking practice, writing exercises, or discussions with language partners.
And finally, be consistent but flexible. Regular exposure to English is key for improvement, but don't be afraid to switch content if something isn't working for you. The most effective learning happens when you're engaged and enjoying the process.
Before we go, I'd like to mention that we've created a special resource for our listeners, a curated list of YouTube channels for English learners at different levels, which you can find on our website.
That's right. We've categorized channels by level and topic. So whether you're interested in business English, conversational English, pronunciation, or specific accents, you'll find relevant recommendations.
That brings us to the end of today's episode on learning English through YouTube. We hope these strategies help you make the most of this incredible free resource for language learning.
Thank you for listening to Artificial Fluency. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to our podcast and share it with friends who might benefit. Until next time.
Happy learning, everyone.